All right, let's dive in today.
Sounds good.
We're going to be looking at the Personal MBA
Okay.
by Josh Kaufman.
All right.
This is the 10th anniversary edition.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to be going through this to give you a really good understanding of business fundamentals and self-management,
Yeah.
you know,
This is a
without needing to go and get like a
Yeah.
formal business education.
Yeah, this is like your MBA in a book.
Exactly.
And it's
Yeah.
practical, straight to the point.
Yeah.
Kaufman is very much against the idea that you need to go and spend a ton of money to get an MBA.
Yeah. He even
That's
goes
like a
into
like-
like the ROI of an MBA, and it's not a
Yeah.
pretty picture.
No, he estimates the 10-year net present value of an MBA to be negative $53,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You could skip the debt and just read this
Yeah.
book?
Pretty much. And he really pushes this idea that the
Yeah.
secret is to develop these accurate mental models.
Okay, so what are mental models?
So mental models are basically the way that you understand how the world works.
Uh-huh.
They're kind of like your brain's operating system
Okay.
or your shortcuts for like making decisions.
Oh, okay.
And we all have them.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes they're inaccurate and that can lead to some problems.
Okay, so can you give me an example
Yeah.
of an inaccurate mental model?
You might have a mental model that says
Okay.
all debt is bad.
Okay.
And that can stop you from taking out a business loan.
Right.
That might help your business grow.
Uh-huh.
An accurate mental model would be more like debt can be good or bad,
Right.
depending on how it's used.
Yeah.
So it's more nuanced.
Okay.
And so the book really helps you identify some of these inaccurate mental models
Okay.
and replace them with more accurate ones.
So it's kind of like having the right lens
Right.
to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it's like upgrading your
Yeah.
mental software.
Yeah. So what are some other inaccurate mental models
So another one that he talks about is that
that he called out?
starting a business is always really risky.
Okay.
And so that fear
Right.
can prevent people from
Right.
actually pursuing their business idea.
Sure.
But Kaufman argues that
Yeah.
uncertainty is just a part of the game,
Okay.
and that you can manage the risk
Yeah.
and minimize the downsides.
So it's not about eliminating risk,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
being smart about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another one is that you need to have this perfect business plan before you even start taking action.
Yeah.
And he calls this analysis paralysis.
Yeah, you can definitely get stuck in that.
Yeah. And a more accurate model is that a business plan is a living document.
Yeah.
It's something that evolves as you go.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a compass, not a set in stone map.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So with that in mind,
Yeah.
how does he actually define what a business is?
Yeah. So he says that a business is basically 5 parts.
Okay.
You're creating something valuable
Uh-huh.
that fulfills a need or want
Okay.
at a price that people are willing to pay.
Right.
And then you're satisfying your customers
Okay.
and generating a profit.
Gotcha.
Keep the lights on.
And he uses a really good example here to illustrate this the segue. So
Ah.
remember those?
Yeah, those were so cool.
They were cool.
But they never really took off.
Exactly. And they were technologically impressive.
Yeah.
But ultimately they failed because very few people were willing to pay the price
Yeah.
for what it offered.
Yeah.
$5,000 for
Yeah.
something that,
Right.
wasn't meeting a huge need.
Yeah.
And that's where the iron law of the market comes in.
Okay, the iron law of the market. What is that?
Businesses can only succeed
Okay.
if they create something people want or need
Uh-huh.
at a price they're willing to pay.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter how cool it is.
Yeah.
It's got to be something people actually are
Right.
going to spend money on.
It's got to solve a problem,
Yeah.
fulfill a need or want.
Yeah, and you have to understand that market before you even start creating your offer.
Exactly, especially if you're in a competitive market.
Yeah.
You need to understand what your competitors are doing, and
Yeah.
the best way to do that is to actually
Yeah.
become a customer
Right.
of your competitors.
Okay, so understand what you're up against.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we've got a good grasp of how to
What a business is.
define a business.
Yeah.
Now, how do you create value?
So he outlines 12 forms of value.
12.
12.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of them might surprise you.
Sure.
The most common ones
Okay.
are product
Uh-huh.
and service.
Okay.
So a product is something that you create once
Yeah.
and you can sell
Mm.
over and over again.
So like the Personal MBA, this book,
Exactly.
it's been printed and sold to tons of people.
Yeah. It's duplicable and it's scalable.
Okay, cool.
So then we have service,
Okay.
which is value that's delivered through direct work.
Uh-huh.
So something like a haircut or a coaching session.
Right.
It's very personalized, but it's not as scalable.
Right, because it requires your time.
Exactly.
Okay, so product is scalable.
Applicable, scalable.
And service is more one-on-one.
One-on-one, yeah.
Okay.
Now let's think about something like a gym membership.
Okay.
Everyone can use the equipment.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't diminish the experience. That's called a shared resource.
A shared resource.
Shared resource.
Okay.
And then you've got something like a subscription.
Okay.
Like Netflix.
Okay.
It's ongoing value for recurring payments.
Right. Yeah. Those are definitely very popular these days.
Yeah.
What about the other ones?
So he also has resale,
Okay.
lease agency, audience aggregation.
Oh, wow. There's a lot.
Loan option, insurance, and capital.
Okay, so he's really
He covers
covering a wide...
One thing to keep in mind here is that most businesses don't just use one.
Right.
They use a combination of these.
Okay, so we've got this value.
Yeah.
But now we need to actually get the word out.
Exactly.
We're talking marketing.
Marketing.
How do we get people to actually buy what we're selling?
So one of the big things he talks about is standing out.
Okay.
Being remarkable.
Yeah.
And this is important in the world where we're just bombarded with messages all the time.
Right.
So one of the examples he uses is Vibram 5 fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember those?
I do. Those were so interesting.
Yeah, they looked like gloves for your feet, but it was a way to stand out.
Yeah, they sparked conversation.
Exactly.
People were talking about them.
Yeah, and it ties into Seth Godin's purple cow idea.
Right.
If you're a purple cow in a field of brown cows, you're going to get noticed.
Yeah, so it's about being different enough to get noticed.
And it's not just about grabbing anyone's attention.
Right.
It's about grabbing the right attention.
Okay, so how do you do that?
Well, that's where qualifying your customers comes in.
Qualifying your customers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you need to identify who your ideal customer is.
Yeah.
What are their demographics?
Yeah.
What are their needs? What are their pain points?
And then you can tailor your messaging to them.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got their attention.
Okay.
Now we need to actually get them to make a purchase.
So one of the things he talks about is framing.
Okay.
Framing is basically how you present your offer.
Yeah.
It's about highlighting certain aspects and downplaying others to influence perception.
So we're talking about like manipulating people?
No. It's not about tricking people. It's about presenting your offer in the best light possible.
Okay, so we're not being dishonest.
No. It's about being ethical.
Okay.
But it's about shaping the narrative.
Okay, cool. Well, I feel like we've
You've covered a lot.
A lot of ground here.
But we've got more to go.
We've got a lot more to unpack from the Personal MBA.
Yeah.
We're just getting started.
We're just getting warmed up.
All right, so stay tuned.
All right, so we talked about those mental models.
Right, those accurate mental models.
How to upgrade your mental software.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about how our brains actually work.
Okay, so the inner game.
The inner game.
That's productivity. Yeah. And Kaufman introduces this idea of the onion brain.
Onion brain.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a little scared, but also intrigued.
It's not as scary as it sounds.
Okay.
So at the core of the onion, you have the hindbrain.
Okay.
This is like the oldest part of our brain, evolutionarily speaking.
Yeah.
And this is responsible for the really basic stuff.
So like keeping us alive?
Yeah.
Exactly, breathing, heartbeat. Okay. Basic survival.
Like our inner lizard brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then wrapped around that is the midbrain.
Oh.
And that deals with emotions and social interactions. Think fight or flight, feelings of fear and joy.
Okay, so all the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
The feels.
Yeah. And then the outermost layer is the forebrain.
Okay.
And this is where the higher level thinking happens.
So like planning and decision making.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Kaufman argues that our brains often react to modern challenges with these ancient responses that aren't always appropriate.
So like we're walking around with Stone Age brains.
Pretty much.
Trying to navigate the 21st century.
And he calls this caveman syndrome.
Caveman syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
So this mismatch can lead to problems
It's like
stress, poor decision making.
Right. So how do we work with this then?
Well, one of the things he talks about is motivation.
Okay.
And motivation is not just willpower.
Right.
It's about tapping into this emotional state that drives us to action.
So how do you do that?
Well, one of the big things that plays a role in motivation is social status.
Social status.
Yeah. We're wired to seek approval and belonging within our social groups.
So that's why people buy fancy cars
Exactly.
and designer clothes.
Yeah, it's not just about the material possession.
Yeah, it's about what it signals.
It's about the signal.
Okay.
Now, obviously, this can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah, you can get caught up in that.
You can definitely get caught up.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about another big one.
Okay.
Procrastination.
Oh, yeah.
Why do we put things off?
I'm an expert at that.
We all do it.
Yeah.
He describes this as a conflict between different control systems in our brains. It's kind of like a heater and an air conditioner fighting for control of the same room.
Oh, yeah.
So one part of you wants to get stuff done.
And the other part just wants to, like, watch Netflix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that.
So one of the keys to overcoming procrastination
Okay.
is recognizing those conflicting systems and finding ways to align them.
So finding that sweet spot.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Now, speaking of productivity, Kaufman is a big proponent of something called monoidealism.
Mono what?
Monoidealism.
Okay.
It's the power of focusing on a single task without distractions.
Yeah.
Entering that flow state where work feels effortless.
I feel like that's so hard these days to actually focus on one thing.
It is, because we're constantly being pulled in different directions.
All right. Everybody's telling you to multitask.
Yeah, and multitasking is a productivity killer.
Is it really?
Yeah, he talks about the cognitive switching penalty.
Every time we switch tasks, our brains need time to refocus.
Yeah.
And that slows us down.
So it's like...
It's like trying to read a book while also scrolling through social media and answering emails.
Yeah, you're not really doing anything well.
Exactly. You're not giving your full attention to anything.
Oh, yeah.
Monoidealism, on the other hand, is like giving your brain a clear highway with no traffic jams.
Okay, I like that.
All right.
So it's about being intentional with our focus.
Exactly.
And giving our brains the space to do their best work.
Yeah. So, now, how about habits?
Oh, yeah.
They play a huge role in our productivity.
Big time.
Good habits can make life so much easier.
Right.
Bad habits can really hold us back.
For sure.
So he describes habits as automated programs running in the background of our brains.
So they're like freeing up our minds.
Exactly. They free up our things.
Our conscious minds.
To focus on other tasks.
Right.
The key is to cultivate good habits that support our goals.
Right. And break those bad ones.
And break the bad ones.
That are holding us back.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
That is the hard part.
So what's his advice for that?
Well, one of the things he talks about is priming.
Priming, okay.
So priming is basically preparing your brain to focus on specific information.
Okay.
So, for example, before a meeting, you might skim the agenda so that you're mentally ready to engage in that meeting.
So like setting an intention for your brain.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Now let's talk about decision making.
Okay.
We make countless decisions every day, but one of the things he points out is that logic isn't always in the driver's seat.
Oh, no. Sometimes
I can get stuck in a loop of like overthinking.
He says sometimes the best way to break through indecision is to just choose something.
Really?
Anything.
Just pick.
Just pick.
Okay.
Even if it's not perfect.
Yeah.
The act of deciding can free you from that mental paralysis.
So it's about taking action.
Exactly. Yeah. And once you make a decision, you can always learn from it.
Right.
And adjust course if needed.
Okay.
He also talks about a technique called the five-fold why.
Five-fold why.
Okay.
For making more aligned decisions.
What is that?
So it's basically asking yourself why.
Okay.
5 times.
5 times.
More. To uncover the real reasons behind your goals and desires.
Okay. So like.
So for example, let's say you want to start a business.
Okay. Why? Because I want to be my own boss.
Why?
Because I crave freedom.
Why?
And flexibility.
And you keep going.
So it's about like peeling back the layers.
Peeling back the layers.
Get to the core.
Exactly.
Get to that root cause of your motivation.
Cool.
He also talks about using our imaginations to explore different possibilities.
Yeah.
And he calls this counterfactual simulation.
Counterfactual simulation. That sounds fancy.
It sounds fancy, but it's basically running what-if scenarios in your mind. So you can imagine different choices and potential outcomes.
Okay.
And that can help you make more informed decisions.
So it's like a mental dress rehearsal.
It's a mental dress rehearsal.
Okay.
Now, one thing that we all struggle with is that tendency to overestimate.
I am so guilty of that.
Our abilities.
Yeah.
And he calls this the excessive self-regard tendency.
excessive self-regard tendency.
So while confidence is important, too much of it can lead to poor decisions.
So it's about finding that balance.
It's about finding that balance.
Between confidence and humility.
Exactly.
Okay.
Knowing your strengths. But also being aware of your limits.
Right. He suggests actively seeking out information that challenges our assumptions.
So being open, being
no wrong.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then another mental trap is hindsight bias.
Okay.
It's that tendency to think past events were more predictable than they actually were.
Yeah.
It's easy to look back.
Right. Like, oh, I should have known that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in the moment, things are rarely that clear.
Yeah. Hindsight is 20/20.
Exactly.
Right.
So we need to be mindful of that, especially when we're analyzing past events and trying to learn from them.
So being humble.
Being humble, recognizing that we don't always have the answers, and being open to learning from our experiences.
Cool.
Now, one of the things he also emphasizes is working with our bodies is key to productivity and well-being.
Right, because I think sometimes we try to
power through when we're tired.
He talks about paying attention to our natural energy cycles and scheduling demanding tasks during our peak performance times.
So working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another concept that resonated with me was this idea of testing.
Testing, okay.
Testing is all about experimenting to find what works best.
Okay.
So it's about embracing this mindset of continuous improvement, constantly tweaking.
So being willing to step outside your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Try new things.
Try new things.
Yeah, see what happens.
See what happens. And it's not just random experimentation. It's about being systematic and intentional about it.
Okay.
So set clear goals, track your progress.
Okay.
Analyze the results and adjust your approach based on what you learn.
So like the scientific method.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, so let's shift gears a bit and dive into the world of business itself.
Okay, so we've kind of laid the groundwork for the inner game.
Yeah.
Now
let's actually apply it.
Apply it to business.
All right, cool.
So we're going to start with marketing and sales.
Okay.
This is all about attracting customers and converting them into paying customers.
But you've got this awesome product or service, but how do you actually make sure people know about it and are willing to buy it?
He reminds us that marketing is all about understanding your target audience and communicating how your offer meets their needs.
So it's not about manipulation.
It's not about manipulation.
It's about actually helping people.
It's about building relationships and creating win-win situations.
Okay.
One interesting concept he introduces here is the damaging admission.
Damaging admission.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds kind of scary. It sounds counterintuitive, but he suggests acknowledging a potential drawback.
So you're saying tell people the bad things about your product.
Well, not necessarily the bad things, but a potential limitation of your offer up front.
Okay, and why would you do that?
Well, by being upfront about a potential weakness, you can actually build trust and credibility.
So it's like saying, hey.
It's like saying, hey.
I'm not perfect.
I'm not perfect.
But I'm honest.
But I'm honest.
Okay.
It's like a salesperson pointing out a tiny scratch on a used car.
Yeah.
It might make you more likely to trust them.
Right, because they're not trying to hide it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about being transparent and authentic.
Okay.
Now, another important aspect of marketing is understanding the concept of option fatigue.
Option fatigue.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I've felt that.
We've all felt it. Yeah. It's that feeling of overwhelm when you're presented with too many choices.
Right, like when you're at the grocery store and you're trying to pick out cereal.
Exactly, and there's
a million different kinds of
100 different boxes.
Yeah, and you end up just walking away.
And you're like, I don't even want cereal anymore.
Exactly.
So the Personal MBA talks about keeping things simple and streamlined.
Okay.
Maybe offering a curated selection of options or highlighting the most popular choices.
Make it easy for people to decide.
Exactly. Okay. Now, once you've grabbed your customer's attention and presented your offer in a compelling way, you're bound to encounter subjections, hesitations.
Yeah.
He calls these barriers to purchase.
Barriers to purchase.
Yeah. So people might be hesitant to spend their money.
Right. Even if they're kind of interested.
Even if they're interested.
Yeah.
He identifies 5 common objections.
5, okay.
That businesses need to be prepared for.
All right, so hit me with them.
So the first one is, it costs too much.
Yeah. The classic sticker shock.
The classic sticker shock, or that inner voice saying,
like, do I really need this?
Do I really need this?
Yeah.
Can I afford this?
Yeah.
Then there's, it won't work.
Okay.
So there's a lack of belief
that
your offer can actually deliver on its promises.
So you have to overcome that skepticism.
Overcome that skepticism.
Yeah.
The third one is, it won't work for me.
Okay, so they think it might work for other people.
Exactly.
But not them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you need to address their specific concerns.
Right.
The fourth one is, I can wait.
I can wait.
So there's a lack of urgency.
Yeah.
They might see the value.
Right.
But they're just not feeling that they need it right now.
And then the fifth one is, it's too difficult.
It's too difficult.
So the process.
Okay, so it's like too much work.
Yeah, either buying or using the product.
Right. It seems too complicated.
It seems too complicated.
Yeah.
So he offers a bunch of strategies for overcoming each of these.
Yeah.
But the main takeaway is to address them head on.
Right. Don't try to
Don't avoid them.
Yeah, avoid them.
Acknowledge them.
Acknowledge them.
Validate the feelings behind them.
Yeah.
And then provide clear, compelling reasons why they should reconsider.
So be genuine about it.
Be genuine and authentic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
we've gotten past those objections.
We've navigated the barriers to purchase.
Made a sale.
We've got a customer.
Awesome. What happens next?
Well, now we have to deliver on our promises.
Right.
This is value delivery.
Okay, value delivery.
And he introduces this idea of the value stream.
Value stream.
Think of it like a map of all the steps involved in creating and delivering your product or service to the customer.
So understanding that whole process.
The whole process from start to finish.
Okay.
One crucial aspect of this value stream is the distribution channel.
Okay, the distribution channel.
So this is basically how your product gets to your customers.
So that could be like a store.
It could be a physical store.
It could be online.
You could be online.
It could be a combination.
It could be a combination.
Yeah.
So choosing the right distribution channel is crucial for reaching your target market.
Okay.
Now, once you've delivered your product or service, it's time to make sure your customers are satisfied.
Happy customers.
Happy customers.
Yeah.
And that's where the expectation effect.
The expectation effect comes in.
This is basically the idea that our perception of an experience is shaped by our expectations.
Right.
So if you set expectations too high, people are more likely to be disappointed.
Yeah, even if it's good.
Even if it's objectively good.
Yeah, I've definitely been there.
We've all been there.
Where you get so hyped about something.
Yeah.
And then it just can't.
It can't possibly
live up to the hype.
Live up to the hype.
Yeah.
On the flip side, if expectations are low, people might be pleasantly surprised.
Right.
Even if the experience is just average.
Okay, so manage those expectations.
Manage those expectations.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about quality.
Okay, quality.
This is a big one.
Yeah, because customers are savvy.
They are.
They expect quality.
They want quality.
Yeah.
So the Personal MBA looks at 8 key factors.
8, okay.
Material quality.
Okay.
Design. Workmanship.
Okay.
Durability.
Yeah.
Reliability, performance. Aesthetics and perception.
So it's like the whole package.
The whole package.
Yeah.
It's not just about the physical attributes. It's about the overall experience.
Right.
And speaking of perceptions,
Yeah.
he talks about quality signals.
Quality signals.
So these are basically cues that communicate the quality of your offer.
Okay.
Think testimonials, guarantees,
Yeah,
awards,
actually.
certifications,
Yep.
even the price itself can be a quality signal.
So it's about backing up your claims.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now let's talk about scalability.
Scalability. Okay.
This is the ability to increase output without a corresponding increase in costs.
Okay, so your costs aren't going up as your revenue's going up.
And this is crucial for growth.
Right.
He points out that scalability is often limited by how much human involvement is required.
Okay, so the more you can automate,
the more you can automate,
the better.
The more scalable it becomes.
Okay.
He introduces this idea of amplification.
Amplification, okay.
Where small changes to scalable systems can lead to massive results.
Okay.
Now, once you've established a solid business model, it's important to think about barriers to competition.
Barriers to competition.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are basically...
So like your moat.
Your moat.
Yeah. Okay.
Things that make it difficult.
Right. For competitors to come in.
For competitors to steal your customers.
To copy you or steal your customers.
Okay.
So things like economies of scale, brand recognition, patents, network effects, even government regulations.
So it's about creating that unique value proposition.
Exactly.
Like that's hard to copy.
Hard to replicate.
Okay.
Now, we can't talk about business without talking about the financial side of things.
The financials.
So are you ready to crunch some numbers?
Let's do it.
I know it's important.
It's important.
Even though it can be a little intimidating sometimes.
It can be intimidating, but the Personal MBA breaks it down in a really clear and concise way.
Okay.
So it starts with understanding the flow of money.
Okay.
The revenue coming in, the expenses going out.
Right. Okay, so we've got self-management down.
Right. We've got our brains working for us, not against us.
We got the marketing and the sales and
all customer stuff.
The money.
Yeah, the money.
Now, I really want to get into this concept of systems thinking.
Okay. Yeah, this is a good one.
Because the Personal MBA really goes deep into this.
Yeah, this is one of those things that once you understand it, it kind of changes the way you see everything.
So what is it?
So systems thinking helps you see the bigger picture.
Okay.
It helps you understand how everything is connected.
Okay.
How even small changes can have these ripple effects.
So it's not just about the individual pieces.
Exactly.
It's about how they all fit together.
It's about the relationships.
Okay.
Kaufman defines a system as any group of interacting, interrelated or interdependent parts that form a complex, unified whole.
Okay. I think I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
But can you give me a real-world example?
Sure. Think about your body.
Okay.
You've got all these different organs.
Yeah.
But it's their interactions and relationships that allow your body to function.
Okay, so like a business.
Exactly.
You've got all these different departments, marketing, sales, operations, finance.
And they all need to work together to create a successful company.
Okay, cool. So now that I'm starting to get a grasp on what a system is, what are some of those key concepts?
So one of the key concepts is understanding stocks and flows.
Stocks and flows, okay.
Yeah, so imagine a bathtub.
Okay, a bathtub.
The water in the tub is the stock. It's the amount of something at a specific point in time.
Okay.
The water flowing in through the faucet is the inflow.
Okay.
And the water going down the drain is the outflow.
Okay, so stock is like what you have.
Exactly.
And flow is
it's the
like how it changes.
Exactly. And this is important for managing any system.
Okay.
From your personal finances to inventory levels in a business.
So if you want to increase the stock, you either
increase the inflow, or decrease the outflow. Another important concept is constraints.
Okay, constraints.
These are the factors that limit a system's performance.
Okay.
Think of a bottleneck.
Like in a production line.
Exactly, like a bottleneck in a production line.
So that point where things slow down.
That's the constraint.
Okay.
So Kaufman talks about the work of Eliyahu Goldratt and his theory of constraints. Goldratt argues that every system has at least one constraint that's holding it back.
So if you want to improve the system,
you need to identify that constraint.
You've got to find that bottleneck.
Exactly.
Okay.
One way to alleviate a constraint is to increase the slack.
Okay, slack.
Slack is the buffer or cushion in front of the constraint.
So if you've got that bottleneck, you want to make sure it's always got
give it plenty
stuff to work with.
A work to do.
Okay.
Now let's talk about feedback loops.
Okay, feedback loops.
These are basically the mechanisms by which a system's output gets fed back in as input.
So like a loop.
It's a loop.
Okay.
And these loops can either be positive or negative.
Okay, so a positive feedback loop.
A positive feedback loop amplifies the output.
So like a viral video?
Exactly.
The more people see it.
The more it spreads.
The more they share it.
Exactly. A negative feedback loop dampens the output, creates stability.
So like a thermostat.
Exactly like a thermostat.
It kicks in when the temperature gets...
When it gets too high or too low.
Too high or too low.
Brings it back to the set point.
Okay.
He also talks about autocatalysis.
Autocatalysis.
This is a process where a system's output becomes a catalyst for its own growth.
So the more it grows,
the faster it grows.
The faster it grows.
Okay. Think about a social media platform.
Okay.
The more users it has, the more attractive it becomes to new users.
Yeah.
And that leads to
more growth.
Even more growth.
Okay.
Now it's important to remember that systems don't exist in a vacuum.
Right.
They operate within an environment.
Okay. The environment. So for a business, that would be...
That would be like the economy, the competition, social trends.
All those external factors.
Those external factors.
Okay.
And he calls these selection tests.
Selection tests.
Yeah, these environmental constraints that determine which systems thrive and which ones fail.
So like survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest.
Business.
In the business world.
Okay.
Now we can never escape.
What's that?
Uncertainty.
Uncertainty. Oh, I know that one.
We all know that one.
Very well.
Right.
Yeah.
Those unexpected events, unknowns, that can throw a wrench in our plans.
For sure.
But the Personal MBA encourages us to embrace uncertainty.
Okay.
Not to try to predict the future perfectly, but to develop strategies for navigating the unknown.
So being adaptable.
Being adaptable.
Accessible. Resilient.
Resilient. Now, what about leverage?
Leverage.
Leverage is all about amplifying our efforts to get bigger results.
Like finding those points where a small input can have a big output.
Can lead to a big output.
Okay.
Like a lever.
Right.
A small amount of force can move a heavy object.
Okay.
One powerful form of leverage is automation.
Automation.
Using technology and systems to streamline processes, reduce human effort.
And that's really changing the game in so many industries.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, even well-intentioned actions can have unintended consequences.
Right, because sometimes you try to fix one problem, you create another one.
They'll create a new one. Yeah. So he encourages us to think through the ripple effects of our actions.
It's like that holistic view again.
The holistic view.
Okay.
Think about the interconnectedness of things and design systems that are resilient and adaptable.
Okay.
Now, to help us focus our efforts.
Yeah, focus is huge.
Focus is huge.
Yeah.
He introduces the Pareto principle.
Oh, yeah. The 80-20 rule.
The 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
The idea that 80%
of our results
come from 20% of our efforts.
Of our effort.
Okay, so find those high-impact activities.
Exactly. Focus on those.
Focus on those.
Okay.
He also highlights the importance of standardization.
Standardization.
So this is about creating clear and consistent processes.
Right, so that you reduce errors.
Reduce errors. Improve efficiency, ensure consistency. So he recommends developing standard operating procedures or SOPs for key processes in your business.
Okay.
And one tool that can help with this is the humble checklist.
Checklists. Yeah.
Checklists seem simple, but they can be really powerful. They've been shown to dramatically reduce errors in fields like aviation and healthcare.
So use checklists for everything.
Use checklists for everything. Don't just rely on memory.
Right.
Make sure you've got a system. Now, one final concept.
Okay, get me with it.
I want to touch on is stress testing.
Stress testing, okay.
This is about deliberately pushing a system to its limits.
Okay, so like giving it a trial by fire?
Exactly.
To see if it can hold up.
To see where the weaknesses are.
Okay.
Think about engineers stress testing a bridge by subjecting it to heavy loads.
Okay.
So in a business, you might stress test your website by simulating a surge in traffic to make sure it doesn't crash.
Yeah, so you're prepared.
You're prepared for the
for those unexpected events.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He also encourages us to engage in scenario planning.
Okay, scenario planning. What's that?
So this is basically imagining different possible futures and creating plans to respond to them.
So it's kind of like that counterfactual simulation.
It's similar.
But on a bigger scale?
Yeah, on a bigger scale.
Okay.
So thinking about what are the potential
challenges. Opportunities.
And having a plan for each.
Have a plan for each.
Okay.
So that you're not caught off guard.
So be proactive.
Be proactive.
Okay.
Well, I think that about covers it.
Wow.
We've been through
a lot.
A lot of the Personal MBA.
Yeah, the Personal MBA is packed
with
so much good information.
Yeah, it's a really great resource.
It really is.
So hopefully you found this deep dive helpful.
I know I have.
Good.
This has been awesome.
All right. Well, until next time.
Yeah.
Keep learning.
keep learning,
keep growing,
keep growing,
and keep diving deep.
And keep diving deep. Thanks for joining us.